All right, we've already elaborated what the No Kings protest is all about. Now we're going to get some reaction and perspective from people who understand this up close and personal. Mr. Raymond Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, is joining us from Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. Andrew Latham, Professor of International Relations, is joining us from Minneapolis in the United States. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Vickery, I'll begin with you. Appreciate your patience, sir. Well, you know, it's unprecedented. It's also overwhelming to see what's happening in the United States. And if I'm not mistaken, perhaps this is the second such protest which has happened against Donald Trump in the last few months. The fact of the matter is that the Republicans are saying that these are only the people who did not vote for Donald Trump, and they have a reason to come out. And they have also painted these protests, Mr. Vickery, as hate America campaigns. How do you look at what's happening over here? I see a very stark, palpable division amongst people in the United States when it comes to Trump and his policies.
Well, thanks very much for having me, and happy Diwali to all. I think rather than hate America, this is a love America demonstration. You know, peace like war has to be waged, and it has to have a purpose. And waging peace in this country is waging it for democracy. I think these demonstrations are much better framed as a pro-democracy rather than anti-Trump. It's anti-Trump only because he's attacked our form of government, which has served us for over almost 250 years, whether that be in attacking the press, attacking institutions of higher learning, corrupting the system of justice to use it for retribution, and the list goes on and on. It is very significant that this is not just a protest which has taken place in capital cities or big cities. It has happened in small, mid-sized towns across the U.S. To dismiss it as only those people who voted for Harris and didn't vote for Trump, it seems to me is wrong. This is the second such protest. The first one, June 14, had about 5 million, and it's grown to 7 million. There are a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump who did not vote for this attack on democracy, did not vote for this kind of chaos, did not vote for a person who wants to change our form of government. So I think that this is very significant. It is picked up internationally by people who love democracy and love their own countries. And I predict that this is only going to grow. I think the shutdown really is not a cause, but a symptom of what's been going on. The shutdown really takes place because of a disregard for the role of the legislative branch as set forth in the Constitution. So this is going to continue. I think it's a good sign, and the idea of mocking it, showing an airplane, and that's not mud, that's the manure that he intends to portray there, is not going to serve him well. It's not going to serve the administration well for J.D. Vance to be on the West Coast at the same time advocating the Marines being involved politically in the United States. It's not going to serve any purpose, but it seems to me to build this movement, which we saw involving 7 million or more people in the United States yesterday.
All right, absolutely right, sir, and a happy Diwali to you as well. Andrew, how do you look at what's happening over here? You know, of course, so far these demonstrations, these protests have been peaceful. You know, if you compare it with what happened on January the 6th, there's obviously a stark difference on how these people intend to put their point across. But will it have any effect? And the fact of the matter is, Andrew, that we're only a few months into the Trump presidency. There are a few more years of this kind of, for the lack of a better word, for this kind of madness to unfold.
Yes, well, when you put it that way, I see this as an immigrant to this country. I see this as American democracy in action. This country constitutionally is built on not just the separation of powers, the legislative branch, the executive branch, the judiciary, but also a balance of power amongst those three branches. And that balance of power, since the very founding, has never been stable. Sometimes the judiciary exerts its influence in what some would consider a disproportionate way. Sometimes the legislative branch does that. And sometimes, like now, the executive branch is pushing. But this is not unprecedented, by the way. FDR certainly pushed the boundaries back in the 1930s as well. This is far from unprecedented. And in each case, though, the other two branches and the people periodically mobilize to push back, to reestablish the guardrails, and to rebalance that balance of power amongst those three branches. That's what we're seeing. And I think it's a very healthy sign. I personally think some of the rhetoric is a bit overblown, but then the rhetoric from the president is typically quite overblown as well. Perhaps if everybody took a deep breath and calmed down a little bit, we could have a more civil discourse across difference. But I think that moment has passed in world history. I don't think we're there at the moment. So I don't like the sight of American troops in the streets. I don't like the president rewriting the laws around the H-1B visas, not just in implementing the laws as he is constitutionally charged, especially, and Raymond will get this, in the post-Chevron era. He doesn't have a leg to stand on, but he's pushing his executive, the envelope of executive power in ways that I and many, many other people, including many Republicans, by the way, consider to be unhealthy in terms of American democracy. I hope the pushback within the two other branches and on the streets of the United States is successful. I moved to this country because I wanted to live in a free country, not in some despotic, authoritarian hellhole.
Fair point, Andrew. We've run out of time. Appreciate you took out the time and spoke to us. Mr. Vikri, thank you so much for your perspective and in fact, making us understand what this is all about and what to expect in the next few days. We take a short break now. We'll be back.
दो 2047 में कैसा होगा विकसित भारत का विकसित उत्तर प्रदेश?